Hello guys, welcome back to HighLevel Techie, and today I'm going to show you how you can create a blog post using Gohighlevel API calls. Okay, so first of all, what you need to do is to go into Gohighlevel API documentation, which you can find at highlevel.stoplight.io. A simple Google search will take you there, and once you are in that documentation page, all you have to do is to find the folder called blogs. Right now you can see I'm under the folder called blogs, and then there are few endpoints that you can see here, and out of that what we need is create blog post. So this is the post request that would create a blog post. So now let's dive into this endpoint and see what all data is required to make a successful API call. Okay, so here, so once we scroll down, you can see this is the header, and on the header you can see we need an authorization, and there's a bearer token we need, and then we need to add a version. So we will get this particular token by creating a private integration key, which you will see in a moment. And then version, you can just simply use this value that is provided here. And after that, we go into the body part, and then you can see title is required, title of the blog post is required, the location ID or the sub account from where you have created the blog is also required. Then you also need a blog ID, which you can find under blog section under sites, which we will also go and see how you can find that. And now you need an image URL, a description for the blog, and raw HTML for the actual blog content. Then the status of the blog, it can be draft, published, or you can set a date and you can archive it. And then image alt text is also required for the image URL that you're providing here. And then you need a categories, you need to add tags, you need to add an author, you need to add the URL slug, canonical link, and a published at value, which is a timestamp at what time you're going to post this blog post. So you can see on the right hand side, all of these values, all of this data are required. So we need to find all of this data to make a successful API call. So let's start with the access token itself. So in order to get an access token, we need to create a private integration key. I'm going to quickly show you how you can create a private integration key to create this blog post. Okay, so you can see we are under this blogs folder. So we need a few of the blog related scopes so that it can access certain data required by the blog and be able to create a new blog post. So let's go in and see what I meant by all that. Okay, so here is our private integration key. If you don't know where to find it, go into your sub account that you're working on, and then you go into the settings, and then you click on private integration. Then you would see all the private integration key you have created before. And to create a new one, click here on create a new integration. Give this a name. So I'm going to give it blog private key, and if you want to give a description, you can give here and click next. And this is where we have to give the scope. So we are interested in the scopes related to blog, so we search for blog, and then you can see all the scopes related to blog. So I'm going to select create blog post, which is required to create a new blog post. And then you can also select update blog post if you are planning on updating a blog post, but we are not doing that right now. And then we need view blog categories, because you just saw that we need category ID as a required data to send a successful API call. So we need this in the next steps. And once you select that, next one we need is view blog authors, because you also need the ID of an author. So we select that as well. So these three are the required scopes as of now. But if you are interested in updating a blog post or checking blog post slug and such, you can add these scopes as well. So for now, I'm just gonna select these three and click create. So as soon as I create this, I get this private integration key, and I'm going to delete this private integration key right after this demo video. So there is no point in copying and pasting this key anywhere. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy this key, and then I'm gonna go back to my API doc. And in this API doc, you can see here on top right, token. This is where I would paste that token. And then also under authorization, I would type in bearer and space this token. So these two are required for this page to run a successful API call. And now we are pretty much ready to run this API call, but then we will also have so many errors because we haven't updated these values. But you can just see how we can run this. Click send API request, and then it would come back with the error saying that the token does not have access to this location. So why that happened? Because the location ID that we have here doesn't have a proper location ID. So there is a mismatch between the location ID we provided here and the private integration key. So the next step we need to sort out would be adding the right location ID. So for that, you just go back to your sub account and copy your location ID from either from the URL here or by going into the settings of that location. Here I'm going to add the right location, and then I click send API request. So then we came across this new error. The error says author not found for this ID. So which means that the author ID we sent here, if you see here, the author ID, which is a required field, we sent using this ID was wrong. And it is wrong because we are using the sample data, which is probably imaginary data or doesn't have access to the API key that we have provided. So the next one would be to find the ID for the author. So how can we find the ID of the author? For that, we need to use another endpoint called get all authors. So I'm going to use another page here, and I'm clicking on get all authors. You can see this is the endpoint get and this URL. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to paste my token and everything here again, and limit is 5. So this API call would return maximum of 5 authors, and then you need a location ID, which I have to go back and get again. This is my location ID and that I'm using. So go back and I give my location ID here, and then I need authorization again, which I will use with bearer, because authorization always starts with bearer. If you go here and look at the header, you can see access token authorization is bearer and that token ID. So I'm going to bearer space that private integration key, and then I send API request. If everything works well, I should get the author ID. So you can see I have my author ID ready. There is one author for this blog, and I'm gonna use that author ID in here. So if we go scroll here, I get the author ID, and I'm going to replace this one with my actual author ID, and I'm going to send API request again. So let's see, now there is another error, blog not found for blog ID. So now we need to find a blog ID for our blog. So where can you find blog ID? So let's go back to our sub account, and this is where you can find blogs. So you go into your sites, under sites you click on blogs and you find your blog. If you haven't created blog, you have to create this blog first. I'm not going into how you can create a blog right now. I'll probably create another video for that. So now that we already have a published blog, all you have to do is go inside your blog, and then in the URL you can find the blog ID right after blogs/site, and there is another slash. So just copy all the blog ID until that you see a question mark after site slash. Okay, so that would be your blog ID. Once you get the blog ID, come back here and find here blog ID. You just need to replace that with the actual blog ID. So we replaced with that. So now we have a title. So let's say our title is my API call blog is my title. I have my location ID. I also have my blog ID now and image URL. So you need to provide a URL for the image, so which you can probably find from your media library, and then you select any of the image and then select that copy link, and you come back here and then you replace that with your link. So that's done, and now we need a description. So let's keep it as a short description and maybe add test so that we know this is the description that is coming from our test request. And then this is a raw HTML where you would actually set your whole blog post content. So in here you can use HTML tags. So you can see here h1 is the hype1 header, and then you have your blog content. You can keep on adding stuff here, but for now we can simply use what's available here. Maybe this is going to be the blog content. So now whatever you type in here would become part of your actual blog post content. So you have to give a raw HTML as your blog content. Okay, so I'm not gonna add anything longer now. You can experiment with this and figure out how and what you need to add in here. Maybe I'll make another video on how you can create a blog automation machine so that whatever you type in becomes a blog and gets published, but that's for another video. And now comes the status part. If you go here, you can see there's a few status here, and I'm going to use published as the status so that whenever I push this API call, the blog post gets published. So status is published, and now image alt text. So this is alt text for SEO purposes for the image that we are uploading. So let me add test again, and then we need category ID. So we need to specify under which category we are publishing this post, and to find that we just go back to our API doc page and use this get all categories. So before that, I just gonna copy and paste my beta token and go into get all categories. And so it's already in here, so it's fine. So now we need to give the token ID and give a limit. So I'm just gonna select 10 as my limit, and then offset number. What is offset? If you don't know what is offset, just go here, number of categories to skip in listing. So I don't want to skip anything, so I just put 0 in there, and bearer token is already filled in and version is already here. So now I send API request and I get a bunch of categories, and I'm just going to use the first category that I have in here. So I copy that and go back to my API request, and here I'm just gonna delete the second one, and I also remove this comma, and then in this one also I'm gonna replace it with an actual category. So our category is also selected. Now we have tags. You can add any tags that you want. So in this example, I'm just gonna keep it as it is. Maybe I add test again. So blog test would be my first tag, and SEO would be my second tag. And the author, we already updated the author. And the URL slug would be the slug that you want for your published post. So this could be anything but without any space. So I'm just gonna add test to this, and the canonical link. So this would be the link to your blog post. So you just go back to one of your blog posts and find the base URL, and then you add whatever at the end of it. So if I go back to my blogs here, and if I go in and copy this, I get my URL structure, and then I'm gonna paste it in here, and I don't want the last bit, and after post slash, I'm gonna add my desired URL path for that specific blog post, and then published at would be a date value. This can be in the past, can be in the future, whatever you want. You just add the date, and now we are pretty much ready to go. We have filled out all the values that we need. We have set up our authorization, we have set up our version under our header, and all the values, all the data points under body is also set. If everything goes well, we will have a 200 or 201 as the status here, and we will also have a blog post created under our blog section. So let's cross our fingers and click send API request and see, and you can see the response is 201 created and the blog post is created, and these are the details related to the blog post. Now we go back to our blog section under our sub account, and you can see this is the last test I ran, which is on March 12th. Now today is March 13th, so I'm going to refresh this, and there you go. I have my latest blog post, which is my API call blog, which was the test blog that I just created, and it has been published. So if I click on this button here, it would open up in a new window and it would show me my blog, how it would look on the front end. So this is the image that I selected, and then my API blog is the title I given, and you can see your blog content is what I've given as my heading H1, and then this is going to be the blog content, which is the test that I gave. These two are the tags I have added, and this is the author. They already have the details for the author, they just pulled in all the details, and that's pretty much my whole blog. So if I had provided a bit longer raw HTML, that would have been a longer blog post. So this is how you create your blog post. It's pretty easy once you have all the data in here. Now if you have done everything and it's still not giving you the blog output, one issue that you need to check is that you go into your raw HTML in here and check if it is not breaking any JSON formatting. So for example, if you have a double quotes in here for blog, which is part of your blog content, which comes under your raw HTML, so you can see here this is already broken the JSON in here. So if you send API request, maybe it would come back as 400 bad request, and in here you can also see unexpected token in JSON in position 296. If you're using any code editor, if you type this in, you will find that at some place like this you have a double quotes or some other character breaking your JSON formatting. Okay, so that's something that you need to be aware of. So this is pretty much how you can run this API call to create a blog post. So now I'll show you how you can use it within GHL or inside any other third-party platform where you can send webhooks. So I'm just going to go into automations and create a new automation, create a workflow, start from scratch. And in here, what I want to do is to create a new action step, and this is going to be webhook, and this is going to be custom webhook because I want to have flexibility of using the post request and along with its data. So I'm going to use custom webhook, and I'm going to select custom and post, and the URL we have to go back in to get it. But for now, I'm going to copy and paste the whole raw body here, and this is the body that we just used, and this should be good to go. Now what we need is the URL. To find the URL, we go back to our documentation and go all the way back and copy this post and this URL. So we have the post method already here, and for the URL we paste that in, and authorization just keep it none, and then you add a header, and this the first key would be authorization, and then the value for that would be the bearer token, and you paste that in, and then next one would be version, and the value of that version would be, if you come here, copy that, and that's the version, and this should be good to go. So I'm just gonna change the URL to test. So this is test 2, that's the title, and image would be the same, everything else is the same, description same, your content test 2. So that's going to be the heading for our blog. Published all text, yeah, it's all good. And what I'm going to do now is to save response so that I can test it, and then select a contact and then send test request. So it has come back with 201, which means a successful request, and it has created something. That's why it's 201. And then if you scroll all the way down, you can see these are the updates regarding our new blog post. So if you want to verify it, go back to your blog post again. And once I have refreshed this, you can see I have now 1, 2, 3, and the latest blog post is also published. So if I go in here, I would see the latest updates that I've made. This is content test 2, and this now I can actually edit the content if I want to. And that's all about how you can publish your blog using API calls. I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you and bye.